Welcome to the Art of Conversation. It's your girl Alisha C, and we are recording live. Yo! Happy Wednesday, everyone. Good morning. I hope you're feeling well this Wednesday. Yes, it's Wellness Wednesday. We've made it to the middle of the week. Yes, sir. We are almost there to the end, and we can enjoy our weekend. Whoop, whoop. Cheers to another Wednesday. The title of today's episode is Genocide Reloaded. According to Oxford, genocide is the deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or group. The 1948 Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. They identified that genocide can be broken down as followed. Killing members of the group, a group. Causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. Deliberately inflicting on the group the conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or part. Imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. Forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Now, the convention confirms that genocide, whether committed in the time of peace or war, is a crime under international law which parties to the convention undertake to prevent and to punish. And so the primary responsibility to prevent and stop genocide lies with the state in which this crime is committed. Touchy subject, right? Genocide is a horrible thing. Awful. There has been a long history of genocide in many countries. Going back to the year 1209 in France. And then again, many countries. We got Haiti, China, southeastern United States, Rwanda, New Zealand, Russia, you name it. Many years, centuries, decades, different many countries. But the question that continues to brew is why? Why are you doing it? Why is this a thing? Why does genocide occur? Why would a person or group of people make the decision to destroy a large group of people? For what reason? And for where did you think that you had the power to make such a crime okay? To make such a crime a thing. And for so long, according to Auschwitz today, genocide happens through a combination of factors. One being ethnic prejudice, racism, other forms of hatred. 2, fear of the other. 3, extreme forms of nationalism. 4, radical and absurd ideas of social change. 5, myth-making. Just simply the idea of creating mythologies around a group, constructing the group as this, as that. It stems from an ideology created by leaders who believe that some people in the country are inferior or dangerous because of their race, religion, national or ethnic origin. So the key word here is domination, which is basically control, exercising control. And you know, the thing about control is, it's like a drug for many, right? You get a taste of it. Oh my goodness, the things that people do to gain control over others. The desperate need to be in control of others and things and situations. It's like an adrenaline rush. According to UnitedNations.org, genocide can be prevented by putting a stop to armed conflict, protecting civilians in armed conflict, including through UN peacemakers, ending impunity through judicial action in national and international courts. Gathering information and setting up an early warning system. We're in February of a new year, 2025. It is 2025. And they like to say what history repeats itself. 2025, there's been many changes thus far and many changes to come. Many changes are occurring all over the world, but we're honing in on the United States. In what ways can we see traces of genocide within our country? Although it may not be as blatant in your face, we see some of the steps taken to achieve a similar result. Yes, no, maybe. When we think back to what constitutes genocide and relate it to what we are seeing and experiencing within the United States, to certain groups of people, and it may not seem as extreme, but who to say it can't become that way? We can only pray to God that it doesn't. In what ways do we see this? Well, I think we can all agree and start with the first thing, affordability, right? The cost of living, Jesus, and how some states, New York being one of them, has become such an expensive state to live in. Some citizens are forced to live in certain areas because they are unable to afford rent in better and safer neighborhoods. These same neighborhoods have more accessibility to resources, quality of services than others. More and more people are becoming displaced. All of a sudden, this is a thing. Way too common. Way too common. And we're going to do an episode on homelessness and the homeless shelter and the Department of Social Services as well. That shouldn't even be a thing. Nevertheless, it seems as though only certain groups of people are being able to afford rent in certain areas, right? So now to piggyback off of that, I'd like to factor in gentrification, which is neighborhood change, a process that occurs when wealthier residents move into a historically disinvested area, and this can lead to economic and obviously a demographic shift, as well as physical changes to that neighborhood. Now you're going to accommodate those wealthier residents in that neighborhood. And we see this. Some of us, you go back to your neighborhood blocks. You know, I'm born and raised Brooklyn, and some of my old childhood neighborhoods and blocks, hanging out and certain things that used to be there isn't there. And that's all the boroughs. It looks different. Much more coffee shops, and you got pet spas and a lot of things that brought the community together, things that made the community. No longer there. When you go back and visit your old neighborhood where you grew up, where you went to school and all this great stuff, it looks completely different. Sometimes the building is not even there. It's a whole new, brand new building in its space, or it's a whole bunch of new stores and luxurious apartments, condos, all this stuff. And you look at the rent, it's ridiculous. $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for a what? 1 bedroom? Are you kidding me? Don't even get me started on the studios. It doesn't even have a bedroom. Some of the studios, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. Excuse me? Oh, blasphemy. It's crazy. Crazy. And that doesn't even factor in ensuring that, okay, your job and how much the job pays you and what saving and investing and all those good things look like to you. Are you even able to do that after you're paying $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for your studio or 1 bedroom, and the cost of food? We could go, we could take that, and run with that. That'll be a separate episode in itself to cover. What is happening with the Department of Education? We just spoke about this, yesterday, and the plan to dismantle the public school system, right? Abolishing the Department of Education is dangerous. It threatens public schooling federal aid, equal access to education. Without the Department of Ed, states could slash funding, widening inequality, and leaving many underserved students behind. We spoke about this. It's another. What's another example? Right? Human trafficking. We hear about this way too much. We hear about human trafficking, sex trafficking occurring amongst children and adults, children being separated from their families. Whew. That's a whole nother topic, right? What else? Cutting U.S. funding will have a major effect on those in need of treatment and services. What does that look like? Well, we've heard and been warned that HIV infections could rise more than 6 times if these cuts are implemented. And deaths could see a dramatic rise by the year 2029, which in all will affect all of us, honestly, having access to services. If HIV infections, if the rate is going to continue to rise at an alarming rate, that's dangerous and putting many others who aren't infected in danger. Your safety, it's woo. 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 The inconsistencies and injustice within the judicial system, our law enforcement, and how certain individuals are usual targets for unjustifiable mistreatment and sometimes death. What else? I mean, the list goes on. What else? Now, although many have jumped for joy when marijuana was legalized in the United States, right? We're taking it back to 2012. First, I believe, in the states Washington and Colorado, trickling down to 2020, 2021 in New York, New Jersey, etc., the rest of states, right? Why I mention this is because marijuana has not been the same once it became legal, right? They legalized recreational and medical usage. And many have spoken and have expressed that something's off. It's not the same. It's not the same, right? It's being produced differently. It has different effects on its users. It has become more addictive. It doesn't get you as high, requiring you to smoke and take in more, right? What else? There's the fact that instead of some communities having access to quality services, let's talk about mental health centers. I always throw that out there because I always think about the things that are more important and what people need, and that you're keeping and withholding deliberately from them. However, on the flip side, in these same communities that can benefit from having accessibility to quality services, mental health services centers, resources, recreational centers. Some of them are trying to close libraries, downsizing. These same communities that rely and can benefit from those kind of services are the same communities that there is a plethora of smoke shops and liquor stores, sometimes 1 to 2 on one block or across the street from each other. You can't walk down these blocks without seeing them in your face. Why those are there and actual beneficial resources is nowhere in sight. You got to travel to maybe another zip code to get to it, another city to get to it. Why is that? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I always like to emphasize that there's this idea, right? There's this idea that many of us have realized maybe years ago, and thankfully some are starting to wake up to this idea that unfortunately our government doesn't necessarily have our best interests at heart. It's the good old, I call it, manipulation. But here's the thing, right? Check this. It's the good old, I'm going to make you think that I have your best interests at heart. but I don't. If I can't get to you and take you out, then I will provide you with the resources to take your own self out and others. Right? And I like to coin that as delegation, right? You're not necessarily getting your hands dirty, but you are, but you're not physically, if you get where I'm coming from. Now let's take a look back at the title of the episode, Genocide Reloaded. What does reloaded mean? It means to refresh, refill. Are these ways or steps being taken to refresh this international law, this crime? What do you guys think? Might be. It's something to think about. At some point, you got to face reality. And you got to take off those, what do they call it, rose-colored glasses and actually see things for what it is. And sometimes think a step further. Learn how to move yourself back and look at things from different angles. If that is the situation, we know that they're not going to come directly out and tell us that, but we see things and we experience things, and the question is, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? What's your backup plan? How can you, or we as a group, combat such a crime? The world around us is constantly shifting. A war that is spiritual, not physical. A battle between good and evil. This idea of eat or be eaten. Eat or be eaten. I say this. The worst thing that you could ever do is think that something can't happen to you. Or better yet, thinking that it can't happen again. Be safe, y'all. Stay prayed and peace out.